Here's where we're a little bit different than ASU. ASU gets a 5-star kid, and they are spiking the football. Granted, as a 5-star kid that was kind of leftovers from the University of Arizona. But guess what Arizona does? They say, nope, see you later. We are going on to another 5-star. Will Riley, my friends. This is going to be an interesting recruitment. Here's the thing. Will Riley, 5-star wing, definitely can reclassify to 2024. He's got visits set up. He's been to Arizona already. Big thing right here is Kentucky, trying to keep him away from Kentucky. But this is one that Arizona is very much in, Sheer.
Yeah, Riley is visiting Illinois, Alabama, and Kentucky this week.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona needs to be rooting for him to make it out of that Kentucky visit without a commitment. His camp has told the other schools involved he will not commit on a visit this week. Kentucky will push him to commit. If he makes it out of these visits without a commitment, I think Arizona is very much in the picture. If he doesn't fall in love and all that. Roster-wise, Alabama doesn't have room. They would have the NIL scholarship, which is the new hot thing. You just give a guy a scholarship with only NIL money. Right. That's the new thing that schools are doing. Illinois does have room, but they're kind of late to the party. Arkansas doesn't really have room. I think they're going to add Coleman Hawkins. It's shaping up to be Arizona and Kentucky.
It's hard to turn down being a teammate of Kirk Risa. Joseph, that was funny, Joseph. But with and Riley, if Arizona were to get Riley, that is you're pretty much that roster is set at that point. You know, you want to get, and then I think it's very difficult to not have a 9-man rotation because you're not bringing in all these dudes. And I know Tommy Lloyd doesn't like doing the 9-man rotation, but Arizona's deep enough that you got to play Del Orso a little bit. You can't just bring in a guy like that and not play him. Carter Bryant's obviously playing. Tobe Awaka is playing, and Will Riley is playing. So again, it would be a pretty finite 9-man rotation.
It would be Arizona's most quality roster from top to bottom that Tommy Lloyd's had in terms of depth. And, we talked about Tommy not playing a lot of depth, but the reality is he hasn't had a lot of depth. Right. This would be by far his deepest team. Will Riley's really good, very good scorer. Might be the first guard off the bench. Could play him at multiple spots, similar to Del Orso. They could play the 2. You could play him at the 3. There's plenty of minutes for Riley to be had. Multi-year player, probably. He's not obsessed with being one and done. He could be one and done, but it's not what he talks about all the time. Look, I put it to you this way. Arizona would go from Caleb Love and Will Riley compared to Jamari Phillips and Joson Sanon.
Yeah, you take that. And you take that every single day of the week. And with Will Riley, he's also another guy that's kind of physically immature. He looks like a 2-year player. I'm of the opinion that I think playing a second year in college does not, as long as you're good and you're able to realize your impact, I don't think that it really impacts you. Like all these people are like, oh, I got to get to the NBA because the older I am. I think if you're in college 2 years, I don't think it's detrimental to you at all as far as teams projecting you out, especially too when you're an 18-year-old. Now, when you're here there 3 or 4 years, that becomes obviously different. But I do think the 2-year plan is every bit as stable as the 1-year plan when you're drafting on projection. What are you laughing at?
Jamari Phillips' official visit to Oregon Wednesday.
Interesting. Well, I know they weren't happy with Victorious Miller and how that was dealt with. So that's
funny.
That isn't it. We'll talk more. We'll talk about that one more offline. Yeah. But that Taylor Osteen, great point. And here's what I also like about what Lloyd's doing. Lloyd is also covering himself with multi-year possibilities here. In that when you got Trey Townsend, that's the exact opposite point of what I'm trying to make. Tobe Awaka, he's going to be here 2 years. Anthony Del Orso, 2 years. Carter Bryant, good chance of being here 2 years. Will Riley would be another guy that would have a good chance of being here 2 years. There would be a lot. I mean, you get a little bit, as much as you can in this day and age, you get a lot of roster continuity, at least in that spot.
Yeah, it's setting up nicely, right? Like that's it, and that's something they look at is Arizona could go one and done. They could get players like that, but Arizona's also kind of shied away from those type of recruitments. And it's one, maybe they don't have the NIL money that some of the schools involved do. But 2, it's just there's a fit there. Like Tommy likes multi-year players. He's been very vocal about it, where he wants to coach guys for multiple years because he feels he can get the best out of them, and it's the program's in better shape because of it.
Yes. Now, by the way, Ted Wardo, not.
Look at this. I met him for the folks listening, I met Eduardo in person, and this guy is gorgeous.
Yes, I mean he really is. He is. Yeah. He has no senses whatsoever. He's got these huge eyes and these ears, and I don't even think that he knew Sheer was right there. It was great.
No, but it was. I mean, my lord,
it was monumental. It was monumental at that point. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. But the also one thing that I've also think that we're going to start seeing a kind of Lloyd stopping is recruiting the crummy Euros that can't play. I'm all for bringing in Euros that can play or international players, but this is also the first time that we're watching teams and it's like, all right, there's not 3 guys who are probably just going to be roster filler coming in. I like that, Sheer. I am okay with 1 or 2, but not 5 or 6. We cannot have that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think at first they relied a lot on international players for obvious reasons, and I think if there's international guys they could get, they'll go and get them. But the way the roster is now, you need immediate contributors, and those are hard to find internationally. And if the roster has a spot where you could kind of stash a player and develop them a little bit, international guy, you're going to do that. But right now, this roster didn't really call for that.
Yes, it didn't call for that. Now, we need to talk about Conrad, and we're going to get back to some other things. Conrad Martinez, I would be stunned if Conrad Martinez is getting legit backup point guard minutes. One of the reasons Caleb Love is back, amongst many other things, i.e. getting paid, is that they told him that he would be able to be a little bit of a point guard, that he would be able to get some backup point guard minutes. It's going to be Caleb Love, maybe KJ Lewis. I don't know, but those are going to be the guys.
Yeah, it's KJ as the emergency option, but Caleb's the backup point guard. That was made clear to him. That's something he'd like to develop. He wouldn't be awful at it. Probably better than we think. Conrad is a case of emergency type of situation, but it's going to be Bradley, Caleb, and probably a mixture of a few guys.
What are we looking for? I want to ask you this. Mount Crevis next year. And this is very much of a, with Mount Crevis and guys like this, it's very much of a, you have to project out a little bit. The people that are like, you should have kept Ballo around. Why would I keep, and I'm just throwing a number out here. Why would I keep one person around for $1.2 million that probably the other guy has a higher upside, and I can probably get him for about $800,000 less than that? Keeping Crevis and moving on from Ballo, Umar Ballo, leader of men, was an easy decision.
I think, was it Rothstein that tweeted? I'm not a big Rothstein guy, but he tweeted like, keep an eye on Crevis. Or it was someone that tweeted it because, look, Umar cost $1 million, a little more than $1 million. Crevis clearly didn't cost anything close, but it's beyond money. They don't want to lose Crevis. Like, they think he's going to be really, really good. And 1 year Ballo, even for free, was not worth losing Crevis. And Crevis wanted his opportunity. And Arizona basically sat down and said, look, it's 1 year Ballo or 3-4 years of Crevis. And that's what we choose.
And that was a very, very easy decision for Arizona, and it was the right decision, especially too when you knew that you were going to have a player like where's it going with that? I just got thrown off by Big 12 Bobby, but it was an easy decision. We'll take that.